Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business. I am your host, Catryn Becker. In this podcast, we talk to business owners, entrepreneurs, real estate investors, all sorts of people from all different backgrounds so that we can learn what brings us together instead of what separates us. Now, today's guest is special. Well, of course, I think all of the guests are special. They're all amazing and have great stories, but it's a new first for this podcast. He is a musician, a trained pianist and jazz concert. He's got albums. He's got all sorts of amazing things that he's done. But what I'm really excited to talk to this guest about is the work he's done for Jazz for Peace organization, which was inspired by the events of 9/11. And he also has a mission of bringing the world together and really understanding what brings us all together. So I'm going to have Rick DellaRatta go straight into playing his amazing music for all of you, and then we'll get into the conversation. Enjoy.
There's a saying old, says that love is blind. Still I'm often told, seek and ye shall find. So I'm gonna seek a certain girl I've heard in mind, searching everywhere, haven't found her yet. She's a big affair I cannot forget. Only girl I ever think of with regret. I'd like to add her initials to my monogram. Tell me, where is the shepherd for this lost lamb? There's a somebody I'm longing to see. I hope that she turns out to be someone to watch over me.
Oh my goodness. I loved that. What a fun way to start this interview. And I loved Someone to Watch Over Me. That is such a beautiful song, and I loved your interpretation and rendition of it.
Thank you so much. You know, people watch these podcasts and they send me requests. And someone sent a request in a few days ago, said, you know, I've heard you do Gershwin in some of your shows or whatever. You know, if you need a song, I just love the way you sing Someone to Watch Over Me. And I said, you know what? Geez, maybe I'll try a little rendition of that.
Oh, so that wasn't necessarily planned. I mean, it was just kind of planted in your head and then
It was just
out
planted
it
in
comes.
couple days ago. Someone just, you know what, I listen. I mean, I don't know if I told you off camera, I've traveled a lot. I've been with Jazz for Peace, I've been to Africa 9 times, and I told you Nigeria was one of them. And the first word I learned in Africa was umfa. And umfa is the word in Rwanda for listen. And so I listen to people, and I get people like someone I went to school with. Oh, hey, I hear that you're all over the place with these podcasts and stuff. Could you, my favorite song? I said, yeah, what's your favorite song? You never know. And people just tell me songs. And sometimes like, you know what? I'll diddle around. I'll send you a thing. What do you think? Oh, if they really like it, I'll consider playing it for them on a podcast or whatever. So this actually goes out to one of our Jazz for Peace event coordinators. Her name is Deborah. So she's the one who mentioned the song.
Well, good job, Deborah, because I love it.
Great. I'm sure she'll be very happy when she watches the show to see your enthusiasm.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, now I feel like just music, I feel is such a doorway, a window into someone's soul. And so it's such a great way to introduce you. But for those of us who need words, can you please describe a little bit more of your background and how you've gotten to this place with Jazz for Peace?
Sure, absolutely. So, basically, I have, your basic music background, whatever that is. I don't know. I mean, I studied piano as a kid. I had to quit my paper route because I got too busy with music. I was, as things started to develop musically, I was in my homeroom teacher, his sons had a band that played at the school dances, and some grown-ups heard about me and they wanted me to play in their band for private parties around town. They'd pick me up and bring me back and sneak me in and out of places that I was too young to get into. And then,
Scandalous.
Yeah. And then things really, like the straw that broke the camel's back was when, on top of all that, plus the stage band at school, my mother wanted me to take over for her as the church organist. So that was the end of my paper route career. And it's been, it's been all music ever since.
And the world is better for it.
Yes, I hope so. I think, it was, I mean, I think the Paperboy would have been short-lived anyway. How far can you go with that? So, but it did get cut off a little sooner than it probably would have otherwise.
Oh my
anyway,
gosh.
that did lead to a career in music, 7 albums as a leader. I played a lot as a sideman before that. And a lot of the stuff that I do, to be honest with you, it just gets to the point where it kind of has to come to shove. I get to a point where it's either, if nobody's going to do it, I better do it. I see myself in a position to do something and I'm like, geez, at some point I've just got to, make that leap. And so as a band leader, it kind of happened when I was doing so many things as a sideman. I was playing, as the piano player for one person, then I'd be a composer for another person, then I'd be doing a vocal thing for another person, or a piano bar situation, traveling as a human jukebox piano. So anything to pay the bills with music because I enjoyed music. But then it came to the point where I had to combine all 3, so I became a band leader. 7 albums later and a lot of traveling, we had the 9/11 incident, which I happened to have a luxury box seat to. Terrible ticket to have, but anyway, I was less than a quarter of a mile away
Oh my
and
gosh.
on a roof watching it. So I had nothing but a poem to show for that. But the poem reflected all that I knew, and I happen to know for sure that music is a big component, and the arts and culture in the solutions to any of our world problems. And I think you'll see as we go along, the more they incorporate the arts and culture and music, the better the chances we'll have of solving these things. But I just saw that music cut through all of those barriers, language, religion, creed, whatever it was. Music brought cut through those barriers and brought people together in positive ways. I just saw it myself with my own eyes, traveling all around the world as a musician. So I started Jazz for Peace, living up to the words of the poem, and one thing just led to another. Eventually, the big thing was the benefit concert series that has helped over 850 of the world's most outstanding causes. But, we've also had instrument donation program for children, educational programs in the schools, et cetera, et cetera.
That's really amazing. And I think what really stands out to me is the first part, what you said, where you just take any job because, there's a reason that we have the stereotype of starving artist, right?
Right.
That you're working for your passion. So how did you take that passion and translate it into, raising funds and having to have knowledge in the business sense?
Right. Well, I'm glad you asked that. So, what I really did was by the time 9/11 came around, I had a lot of experience as a musician and as a band leader and playing at festivals and playing in clubs and playing here and playing there. And I had seen how the business ran, and I had to kind of carry the weight of making things happen, putting on events myself when needed, and assisting in the hands-on with how events work and how you do stuff like that. And as a matter of fact, a key component that I don't even want to leave out is when I went to the New England Conservatory, they had something called a gig office, and you could actually look at a bulletin board with all of these little jobs that they would call into the school, people from around the community, and you would just take the number and call the person. And hey, what do you have? So I had done so much things of seeing how they work and all that. I had even put on my own jazz festival at one time. So what I did was I saw that you could combine world-class cultural event with a fundraising model. And when you combine the two, you had something that was very hard to screw up, even if you tried. You see what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, so many things can go wrong. See, what happened to me, the reason I realized something was up here was because I was doing some things just to live up to the words of the Jazz for Peace poem, where I was playing some concerts for outstanding causes around New York City. And so many ups and downs and twists and turns would happen. And at the end, I would get this glowing letter from them. So if someone, and we have them all listed, it's a webpage called jazzforpeace.wordpress.com/about. It's a separate site because we have so much archived, material. And if you go to that page, you see hundreds and hundreds of these testimonials from people. Well, the reason that at the end of the day, it was a helpful step forward for them was because we had a fundraising model that we were following. So there were so many ways to advance. Number one, we were helping an organization. See, most people think if you just throw money at a problem, you can solve it. And actually, you really can't. And I think more and more people are realizing that you really can't do it. But you can do it from the way I'm talking about. We would take an organization and rejuvenate their core people. So they have a board member, they have volunteers, they
Sure.
have important supporters, and they're all exhausted trying to keep the organization going, doing their good deeds. We would rejuvenate them by making them VIP guests of honor at the event. So now we're thanking, rewarding, and rejuvenating them. So we're doing something for those core people. Now those people, they want more, they want help. So we would expand that by getting all of their friends and all of their, all of the people from the community in as VIP guests of honor because of them. And now we're bringing more assistance in. So we're growing their donor base, with this event. So now we've got, those are the roots of the tree. So now you've got the roots, you've already got something kind of not bad right there. You're rejuvenating them and growing their donor base. Who doesn't need that?
I mean, come on.
I'm still looking for someone who doesn't need that.
Right.
I could use it. We could use it. Everyone, and you found that no matter how big the organization was, they always said they needed that. Red Cross, Habitat for Humanity, organizations down in Texas that we've done stuff for. They all said we need it because they do need it. Everyone needs it. So now we have that. But what else do they need? Well, once you have that core component in place, which is the roots, now you can grow these branches just like a tree in your backyard. And one of them would be local business sponsors. Well, sometimes they can't get local business sponsors on their own, but with Jazz for Peace advocating for them, and telling these local businesses, hey, guess what? This is going to be a blast. You guys, it's good for your business. You're going to come in the VIP. You're going to be this. You're going to be that. You're going to come to an event. You're going to meet these people. They're going to love you because you're a sponsor. You're going to meet them. I'm going to vouch for them. You tell me if you have a problem, but I'm vouching for them. They're great people, all that kind of stuff. So we'd be the middleman putting them together, putting the businesses. So now they get the local businesses. Now with the tree at that, it's above ground with a branch on it, we can now get publicity and awareness in the media. You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
And now, from there, you get these others. So one after another. Then we can go from there to new and prestigious supporters. We can go to bigger organizations like national, companies and stuff like that. And we can, once we get up pretty high on that tree, we can share fundraising techniques that we have learned from all of the other outstanding causes that we listened to and said, hey, let me see bring in some of your tricks to this package and see if we can make it greater.
Absolutely. Because when you're talking about fundraising, you all have the same purpose in mind of being able to support these causes and to increase outreach. So it seems like a very collaborative community. And you've been doing it for 20 years. So I'm sure you've learned so many things that can be helpful. So, what are some tips that you like the entrepreneur business owner listening, like why would they want to help sponsor this? What are some things that they could have as a result?
An entrepreneur business owner has so much to gain from Jazz for Peace. Okay. So number one, let's just say they themselves could be affiliated with an outstanding cause. Most people that are passionate about their business are also passionate about their community. They're passionate about their country. They're passionate about their county. They're passionate about something within their county. Could be cleaning up a lake nearby. Could be anything, So now we can take their passion and leverage it in a way which brings their business, which is advantageous for their business. You see what I mean? Because
Sure.
they're being seen in conjunction with that passion that they have, and that is raising their stature in terms of being in good light with the community, instead of, hey, this is the bakery on the corner. Hey, this is the bakery that just went bonkers to help this organization down the street here, with the homeless, or help the, you know what I mean? So now we're working with their passion. Now let's just say they don't even have a passion. Well, guess what? They can join someone else's passion in the community as a sponsor. And we show them how it is good for their business. That's how we get these sponsors. We don't say, please be a good Samaritan, even though that would be nice for them to do. That's not our approach. Our approach, which we teach the nonprofits, is listen, don't do it that way. I know that they should be nice and help you, but actually, if you're involved with Jazz for Peace, it's good for them. So show them how good it is for their business to get on board. You see what I mean? So These are all things that these businesses, and it's really good for them in the community, because all kinds of weird stuff happens, and you get these big national companies that come in and try to steal, try to become it, like that movie you saw back in the day with I forgot, Tom Hanks was in it, I think. It was about a bookstore, the big
You Got Mail with Meg Ryan.
That's right. That's right. And that's what that movie was about. And so, if you're an organization that has a place in your community, people are going to they're going to have empathy for you. Like, hey, wait a minute. We want Jim and his business. We don't want some generic business to be the only business in our town or whatever that is out of Scottsdale, Arizona, and we're here in Seattle. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, okay. I have a kind of controversial question. And I normally don't I just have kind of a rule that I don't discuss politics on here. But in recent years, and I'd love to know what you've seen, it feels like so many causes have become politicized, where a certain politician will, or group of people take take it on and it becomes more political. And I feel like that's going against what peace is wanting. When two people are so, opposed to one another, there's not so much room for peace. Have you seen anything like this? And, what are ways that companies can avoid this and making sure that they're picking organizations that they're not going to get canceled for, a few years later?
The way to do it is to contact Jazz for Peace and let us handle that issue for you. Do you see what I mean? Because, for example, I'll give you an example right now. If you go to jazzforpeace.org, which is our website, and just put a / and the word Vegas, Vegas for Las Vegas, you will go to this event, and what shocks people when they look at it, you can click on this PDF, which is their it shocked me. It's their what do you call that? The thing to hand out, the thing that they give to everybody, their little booklet about the event,
Yeah.
It's a PDF of all the stuff, all the sponsors and all the thank you this and all that stuff. You will see in there so many people, which I saw, who have no business being in the same room with each other. They scream and yell in the press. They are on TV barraging each other, and I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats. You know what I mean? There are people on too. So we had the Republican senator, a whole page about how great he thinks this event is and Jazz for Peace and what Jazz for Peace is doing. And then we had the Democrat senator. You know what I mean? We had the Speaker of the House is from Nevada. He was in on it. I forgot, he's a famous guy. You know who I'm talking about? The Speaker of the House before Pelosi, that guy. You know what I mean? I forgot his name. Not Mitch, the other one. Yeah, we get.
Yeah.
If you go there, you'll see what I mean. The Speaker of the House, and everyone knows who he is. Anyway, all these people, and I said to the guy, we had hardly heard from you, and we were worried that, because sometimes when you don't hear from somebody, either they're going gangbusters with your model, or they're a train wreck and they don't want to let you know. You know what I mean? And I didn't know when I came to the event, and I show up and I'm like, oh my God. And I said to the guy, what we were worried, blah, blah. He said, listen, I was just following your model. And we brought together these people because you know what? I don't care who you are and how much you hate the other guy. Don't tell me that both of you don't want to see the children of your town and your community, you know what I mean? Healthy, right. And you know what I mean? So the outstanding cause brings them together, even if it's just for that day.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Yeah. And you know what? If you have a problem, just contact me. I'll tell you exactly why neither one of you should be arguing. And it's about this cause, and it's about what this person has in mind or whatever.
Again, and that's part of my beliefs, is there are way more that brings us together than divides us. So let's focus on the things that we have in common that we both believe in, instead of focusing on the small percentage of things where we disagree.
Well, 2 letters have said that exact sentence, because I'll tell you something. I show up to these things, and a lot of times there's a letter for me from a senator or whatever. And it's funny because there's an event that I showed up to in Chicago, and someone said, we have a letter for you. And they gave me the letter. It was from Barack Obama.
Oh my.
And there's another event I had in Vermont, and they said, we have a letter from the governor. His name was Shumlin. And both of those has that sentence. They were long letters and they had a lot of things, but both of them said, there is so much that unites us rather than divides us. And Jazz for Peace is bringing together that which unites us.
Yes. Amen. I mean, that's all I can add to that. Okay, another question I have. Well, I mean, of course, there's another question. There's an interview. But my question is about jazz. So there's so many different art forms out there, different musical styles. And from my understanding, jazz is the most unpredictable, right? There's not so much, it's not as formulaic. It's much more improvisation. Ugh, you know the word I'm trying to say.
Oh, sure.
Improvise. Yeah. So I feel like it takes a certain brain to be able to work in that sort of framework. How do you think your studying of jazz has helped you to be flexible and be able to navigate all that you've done with Jazz for Peace?
Well, I'll tell you one thing it does, and this is a secret, but I wish it wasn't a secret. I wish everyone knew it, actually. What I did in that performance that I just gave to you, I honestly made up almost that whole thing. So what I did was I took the song, Someone to Watch Over Me, and when that song was finished, I just made up the rest. I completely improvised it out of the blue. I don't know what I played. I'll never be able to play it again. I don't even know what it was. I just played it, and I call all of that a free jazz, which the name of the piece I call is Free JA, because it gives us a chance to stand for things like freedom of speech and the rights for what is it, the journalistic integrity, those kinds of things that are surrounding that issue. And it's completely free. It's completely made up. I don't know what it is. And I'm happy when I see a smile at the end, because I don't even know what kind of result it's going to be. But see, what I'm doing is I'm allowing whatever possibly could happen to come through me. You know what I mean? So I'm allowing the river to flow, the river of creativity. You follow me? That's what I mean, allowing that to flow. So I'm having a little bit of a trust with the universe, and I'm allowing something to flow, whatever that is, to flow out of me. That's a culmination of everything that brought me to this moment. And guess what? If you do that in life, you'd be surprised at what you can accomplish, no matter what barrier is in front of you.
Yeah. Well, I know that well. The book that I wrote was about control and surrender, and the interplay between the two, that when we're so controlling and we hold our hands so tightly that we're not allowing more to be put into our hands, that the act of letting go and having open hands of surrendering is so much more powerful, and you never know what's going to come next.
Right. Because otherwise you're blocking all of your you know what I mean? You're blocking all of your potential.
Yeah.
So you won't want, I mean, what the heck was the point of, doing all the great things you've done to get to this moment if you're going to block the cream to rising to the top?
Right. What it's all building for. I think Steve Jobs had said a quote, which I'm going to just paraphrase because I don't remember the quote, but it's something about when you look back, how you can see the pattern and see how each step led to the next one. And I think that's something that's really important in looking back and being able to recognize that, like, oh my gosh, yes, there is a design. There's a grand design here that I'm following, and I'm on the path that I'm meant to be.
Well, I've heard those things he said at the end of his life, and I'd hate to say it, but most people are better off with that knowledge that he finally had at the end than they would have been with all of the millions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we wrap things up, I definitely want to talk more about a little bit what we talked at the beginning of all of the amazing cultural influences that you've had in your life, and how that has come to shape your beliefs and the foundations of Jazz for Peace, and what's next for you.
Well, what we've been able to do has brought me to places where, honestly, even there's no Caucasian person has ever been. I've been places where, I saw people that are not really included in what we see on TV and what, the news is, the world news or whatever. And that, you would think they lived on another planet, because, these areas of the world are not even included. And I've been there, and I've spent time with these people. And sometimes I've been there for weeks at a time because they wanted my presence. They requested it, they had an agenda for me to work with them. And, I can tell you they're the same. People are the same everywhere. There is good and bad everywhere. And there's, love and hate and, all of these emotions. And I think because of some of the things I've learned, it's a little bit harder for me to get gaslighted into believing otherwise. You see what I mean? So in other words, by being a musician and traveling around and seeing the way music crossed all of those barriers and boundaries, it was hard for me to believe otherwise, even though there's no other information telling me that, coming out of the subliminal messages, but I knew it, and so now I've traveled around the world and I've learned what people are like, no matter where you go and no matter what, no matter what, actually, in any shape or form. So right now it's an interesting opportunity for me possibly to bring people together on the side of common sense, because I think there's a lot of people that are just because, like you brought up earlier, just because of a political agenda or belief or whatever, or someone got them on this side, another person's on that side, they're not together in areas that they absolutely 100% agree on and should be together. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
And so I think it's an opportunity. What I sense, it's an opportunity for me to be the one to say, hey, you and you, we need you both here.
Oh, that's so great. So for the listeners, if they are interested in having a Jazz for Peace event, what does that process look like?
Well, the best thing, it's funny because there's a little video that just came out from a recent podcast where I was saying the best thing for anyone to do is to learn a little bit about us. So the more you know about Jazz for Peace before you contact us, the faster we can march through the process and start working to help you in a profoundly positive way. So I would suggest, listen to your podcast. That's my first thing. And then my second thing would be just follow some of the things of interest. I mean, if you heard me say something of interest, like if you heard me say Nigeria, type in Google Jazz for Peace Nigeria and look at the concert we did there, or try Pakistan, or try whatever comes to your mind. Just do a little on your own. Doesn't matter to me, Of course, our website, jazzforpeace.org. My site, you could type in my name, if you can spell it, Rick DellaRatta, and put famous quote, because I actually have a famous quote. But just do have a little fun, just gaining some knowledge, and then contact us, usually with a comment. I mean, you just write your own honest comment. Our email address is info@jazzforpeace.org. And most people, it starts out with just a few little words just coming from them on what they saw about Jazz for Peace. And then right from there, that's usually a seedling, enough of a seedling to start growing an empowerment tree.
I love it. And I love trees and I love the analogy. So this has been really fun, Rick. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing your music, for sharing your passion, and for all that you've done to change the world and make it a better place. I really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure, Kat.
And for the listeners, thank you so much for staying with us. I hope you enjoyed this interview. If you had, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast for more great content. If there's anybody that you are curious to see on here, please send them my way. I would love to talk to them. Until next time, thanks so much.